Hello, woo, happy Wednesday. Let's call it Wellness Wednesday. I'm coming on. I normally do these lives on Tuesday, but I'm coming on Wednesday just because my schedule was a little bit crazy yesterday and I needed a little energy boost. And I'm actually dissolving one of my molecular hydrogen tablets in this water. It's ready to go. Cheers to that. So today, I'm Julie with Balanced Life with Julie, regenerative health practitioner, holistic nutritionist. And today, what I would like to do is chat about, I would like to chat about glyphosate and gut health, because less than 2 weeks ago, I was at a conference in California where we had this wonderful lady named Carrie Gillum, who has been very outspoken about glyphosate and Monsanto the past few years. And I had an opportunity to speak with her, to meet with her, get her book, and also listen to her keynote where she went into detail about some of the things that she's been discouraged to speak about publicly the past few years. Before we dive in, let me put my phone on silence so that there are no phone calls while I'm doing this. So yeah, let's back up this truck a little bit. If you are new to my page, if you are just somehow stumbling across the YouTube. Oh, hang on. I will explain this after I talk about gut health, but I want to get all this hydrogen in me because it is so potent and so powerful. I don't want to miss out. And I was in my office, I was working away before I started this live, and I hadn't had anything for hours. And, like sometimes when you feel a little bit tired in the afternoon, it is afternoon here, and I don't drink coffee. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to just have a hydrogen tablet to pick myself up. And so that's what I'm doing. Okay, back to gut health, back to glyphosate. So if you don't know who I am, if you haven't really watched my videos, I was one of the millions of women that was dealing with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. In fact, my own health struggles are what brought me into clinical practice, because I wanted to figure out how to get myself healthy. And a lot of the work that I've done and the research that I've done the past few years has really been focused on what does it actually take to address root cause healing within the body. And thankfully, on this journey, I managed to reverse hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, something that I was told by multiple medical doctors I would just have to live with for the rest of my life. And I wasn't willing to take that as an answer. And so I reversed hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's 5.5 years ago. I've been completely off the medications. I got my energy back. The depression went away. The gut issues went away. And most importantly, I was able to get off of the thyroid medications for good. I've been off the meds now for over 5.5 years. And even more important to that, my thyroid numbers are stable. In fact, I had blood work done back in March before I embarked on a protocol. And sure enough, my numbers are perfect. All right. So let's talk about glyphosate and gut health and all of those things. So unfortunately, a lot of people still don't know what glyphosate is. And a lot of people don't understand the connection between the constant, and I'm not joking when I say constant glyphosate exposure all of us have, and the impact it has on our individual health. And maybe I will post this somewhere on my stories today and save it to my Instagram highlights under the glyphosate highlights so you can see for yourself. But before they started spraying, before Monsanto managed to get glyphosate into onto the market, we had very few autoimmune issues, very little autism, a lot less cancer than we currently have. And as the glyphosate exposure and the glyphosate footprint has gone up, so have gut issues, autoimmune issues, celiac, infertility, autism, certain cancers, such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And unfortunately, the public is still largely unaware of this ever-present threat. And so I want to, in this video, I have a few goals. Number one, to explain what glyphosate is and how we all get exposed. And number two, the impact on gut health and the connection to various chronic health conditions. And thirdly, how you can actually address this problem at the root. You do not have to be continually exposed. Well, we don't have much control over being exposed to glyphosate because it's just a part of the environment. However, we can get it out of our body, and that's what matters most. So glyphosate, if you don't know what it is the active ingredient in Roundup. And I think they've actually changed the name of Roundup. They don't call it Roundup anymore. But anyway, it is the active ingredient in Roundup. And it was originally patented as an antibiotic. Now, what makes glyphosate especially scary is that, so Monsanto was the corporation that brought it to market, and they've been oh so kind. I don't mean that, but they've been educating farmers since the 80s about how to utilize this in farming, but it's been used in much more than farming. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers, but there was this ad back in the 80s where there was a guy in the suburbs and he's facing off against a dandelion, and he whips out his thing of Roundup and to spray the dandelion. And so all that to say is that glyphosate and Roundup was also used pretty extensively by homeowners to keep their lawns green. I'm a homeowner who does not spray their lawn. I do not spray my lawn. I let the dandelions do their thing because they're food for the honeybees, for the bees. But I digress. So anyway, it's patented as an antibiotic. What it does in the soil is it actually destroys the microbes and the earthworm population. Now, if you know anything about growing food, soil quality and having nutrients and micronutrients within the soil is actually pretty important for plant health. So that's what it does to the soil. What it does when it's sprayed on plants is it actually disturbs the amino acid profile of the plant, known as the Shikimate pathway. And so when you're spraying this on plants, you're actually disturbing the amino acid profile. Also not good. Now, interestingly, what it does in the human gut is it actually destroys, guess what? It's an antibiotic. So what do antibiotics do in the body? They destroy microbes. So what it does in the human gut is it actually destroys microbes. And our gut microbiome is literally made up of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different strains of their different microbes. But the absolute kicker about this exposure to glyphosate is that it tears apart the tight junctions of the gut, which contributes to something called leaky gut. And so what's happening when we're dealing with leaky gut is because the tight junctions of the gut come apart, it starts to leak the contents of the gut into other. I was just brought a smoothie. Thanks, honey. I love working from home. Anyway, so the contents of the gut start to leak into the rest of the body. That could be various microbes, pathogens, parasites, food particles. And once they start to leak out of the body, or out of the gut, they can go anywhere they want in the body. And so that is highly, highly problematic. And this is why we've seen, one of the reasons why, not the only reason. One of the other thing to also understand is when it comes to illness, it's never just one thing that causes illness. It's kind of like this perfect storm of a bunch of different things that come together and they coalesce in such a way that it creates this dis-ease within the body. So this contributes to leaky gut, which contributes to autoimmune conditions. And so in my case, back in 2019, I started researching gut health and glyphosate quite by accident. And I came across the work of Dr. Zach Bush, who has done a lot of work on this issue as well. And he was sharing about the connection between glyphosate exposure and certain cancers and thyroid issues. Now, back in 2019, I was dealing with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. And I also had leaky gut. I knew this for a fact. I was taking multiple medications a day and nothing was really helping. I felt terrible. I had brain fog, fatigue, lots of inflammation in my body. My joints hurt all the time. And needless to say, I was absolutely desperate to find a way to actually get my body healthy for real. And so I went down this whole rabbit hole of research, and that was when I found the only third-party tested and validated clinically proven glyphosate solution on the planet. And of course, me being me, I was like, well, let me test this out. And lo and behold, it was the thing that actually worked and allowed me to reverse hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's within in 6 months. It's called the transformation. It's linked below. And what makes it powerful, well, it will be linked below once this video is up and posted. What happened when I went on this program was it allowed me to, with ease, improve the quality of nutrition going into my body. Now, quality nutrition, quality hydration is foundational for health. There's no way around it. If you're somebody who's taking supplements and you're trying to biohack and do all these things, if you do not have the foundation of your house in place, which is quality nutrition and hydration, your body can't heal. And even whatever you're trying to do isn't going to be effective because you don't have that basic foundation in place. So it addressed this whole, program addressed my diet, my gut health, which was huge, and parasites. And here's the thing that I say over and over and over again, and I think people still don't quite understand it, which is that every single one of us has parasites. We all get exposed to it. And it isn't just in our food. It can be like, I have 3 dogs. You can get it from an animal. You can get it from another person. You can get it from soil. You can get it from fruits and vegetables if you're not washing your fruits and vegetables properly. Every single one of us has parasites. And if you're eating meat and dairy, of course, you're creating the environment within your body for parasites to thrive. And parasites also come in on that as well. And so what ends up happening within the body is there's a lot of acidity, a lot of stagnation, and that is what creates this foundation for illness and disease. So anyway, I went on this protocol. I did it for 6 months, and I still follow the guidelines for this protocol to this day, because it really is about improving the quality of your nutrition and your hydration. But when it comes to the glyphosate part of this puzzle in terms of gut health, the gut support was a part of a preclinical trial, and they had 2 groups of people. A group that was eating the standard actually both groups are eating the standard American diet. And one of the groups was taking the gut support that removes glyphosate, heavy metals, and helps support sealing up the tight junctions of the gut, and the other group wasn't. And what they found was within 6 weeks, the group that was actually taking the gut support saw a reduction of glyphosate in their body by 74%. And they saw a reduction of C-reactive protein, which is an inflammation marker within the body. They saw that dropped down by 75% over 6 weeks. Now, I know of people who have been testing their glyphosate levels on a regular basis, and their reduction has gone down by as much as 95%. Now, here's the thing to understand about glyphosate and just detoxing in general. So many people that I talk to really have this short-sighted view when it comes to protocols and their health. They think, okay, well, I'm going to do this thing for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then I can go back to whatever I was doing. No, because if you do that, then whatever issue you were dealing with is definitely going to come back. It's just going to be a matter of time. The other thing to understand about toxicity within our environment, especially when we're exposed to water-soluble toxins, is we're going to always be exposed to them unless there's a universal ban. There is no universal ban coming up on the use of glyphosate in the environment or in our food system. And so we're always going to be breathing it in and drinking it in. I shouldn't say always. As long as there is no universal ban, as long as it continues to be sprayed in the environment, we are going to be exposed to glyphosate and really any other water-soluble toxin for that matter. Which is why it is very, very important that if you're actually serious about your health, that you're following protocols which focus on removing glyphosate, chemicals, and heavy metals from your body on a daily basis. Not when you think about it, not when you're sick, not when you get around to it. It has to be a consistent, persistent part of your daily routine for taking care of yourself. And I can tell you, I've been doing this. Someone just, no, it's the other way. I'll do the other way later. Sorry, I got somebody asking if I'm doing this video on a vertical or a horizontal. I'm doing it on a horizontal because it's my typical live. I'll do a vertical another time. All right. So we're exposed to it. The other thing was last summer of 2024, I came across some information from a French study that actually shared how glyphosate can get into your body through your skin, right? Remember that glyphosate is a water-soluble toxin. Our skin is an organ. And so whatever is in the atmosphere that is water-soluble can get into your body, right? And so this is why I say that everybody is exposed to this chemical toxin, whether they're aware of it or not. And it is affecting their health. It's affecting their gut health. It's affecting their brain health because glyphosate can cross the blood-brain barrier because remember, it is a water-soluble toxin. And so we have a situation on this planet where every single living being and plants are exposed to this toxin, which is affecting their health. And until we make a conscious effort to get rid of that toxin and other toxins and heavy metals out of the body, then your health is going to be impacted. And I know for myself personally, I speak from my own experience, which is that when I actually got serious about gut health and getting rid of glyphosate and addressing the root causes of illness, lo and behold, I managed to restore my health. And I've been blessed with continuing to improve my health because I continue to follow the protocols that got me healthy in the first place. And if anything, I've amplified my protocols by utilizing things like molecular hydrogen and redox. And in a way, like if I think back to 2019, before I found this particular protocol, the transformation, I was taking so many different supplements and I was doing all of these things that were way more complicated. And right now I've simplified it down. The basics of my protocol for myself is quality nutrition, quality hydration, right? That includes this, the gut support that I'm sharing about, plus superfoods, plus whole foods, whole plant foods. And then I have molecular hydrogen every single day. And that molecular hydrogen tablet that I had was not any old tablet. It actually has things like resveratrol, which are great for anti-aging, spermidine, which helps with autophagy within the body. What else? B12, magnesium, and it is a really, really potent way to improve longevity within the body and help with mitochondrial support, DNA support, RNA support, help reduce inflammation. Molecular hydrogen is a selective antioxidant, and it's really, really powerful because it's such a small molecule. It can actually go anywhere in the body, and it also has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier, which means it has the ability to displace toxins that might be within the brain. And this has been clinically studied, so I'm not just making that up. Anyway, and you can look up those studies. They're on NIH website. You can look up. There's over 2,000 studies on molecular hydrogen. So knock yourself out. Read the material that's out there. But anyway, back to glyphosate. And so, even when somebody follows a protocol in terms of removing glyphosate from their body, because we're constantly exposed to it through the air that we're breathing, water we're drinking, foods we're eating, and it's coming into our body through our skin, it is important to always be proactive. So I personally continue to take this gut support every single day. I empty it into my green shake in the morning, whenever, sometimes I have my green shake in the morning, sometimes I have it in the middle of the afternoon, but whenever I get around to having it, I make sure that I empty the capsule of the herbs in there, and I have that every single day. Lo and behold, my leaky gut I was dealing with went away, the brain fog, the fatigue, the aches and pains, the thyroid issues. I haven't been on medication now for over 5.5 years, and I absolutely love it, because if you are one of the millions of women who deal with thyroid issues, that first thing in the morning you take your medication, and then you're not supposed to eat or drink anything for half an hour to an hour afterwards. And I followed that routine for years and years and years until I gave my body the proper supports to heal itself. And now I love the fact that I can get up in the morning and I'm not having to time things anymore, right? There's a lot of freedom. I'm not on any medications. And aside from this molecular hydrogen tablet that I like taking 2 or 3 times a day, I'm not on any supplements either. So it's very, very freeing. Yeah. So this has spirulina in it. My other half, Michael, he always makes like this one big green smoothie a day, and he throws in a lot of leafy greens, but he also throws in the superfoods that we use. He throws in like barley and spirulina, which is why it's so green. And if you know anything about spirulina, it is known as nature's multivitamin. So I don't take multivitamins, I just have spirulina. All right. So, anybody who has an autoimmune condition, MS, Graves, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, gut health is a very, very important part of the puzzle when it comes to restoring health within the body, as is quality nutrition, as is addressing parasites and heavy metals, and addressing glyphosate. So if you are one of the millions of people out there who are dealing with autoimmune conditions, maybe more than one autoimmune condition, multiple autoimmune conditions, and this has not really been a factor in your plan, this is something that you definitely want to be looking at. And I know for myself, back when I was sick, this is what changed my life for the better. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share on that. If you're catching the replay, please check the captions below the video. And I do work with clients one-on-one in terms of chronic health issues. I do have an amazing community called Elevate. And that community, I walk you through similar protocols, but the benefit is that you get to be in community with others who are also on a health journey. And I really do believe strongly that healing happens in community. When we are trying to work on ourselves individually, it can be very lonely. It can be very isolating, especially if you're in a family or an environment where others do not understand what you're going through. So anytime I've run groups and run communities, I know that a lot of people that are in those communities and groups really appreciate knowing that others are on a similar journey. There's something really healing about that group support. So make sure that you check out the Elevate membership as well. I have a video on the page that goes into what exactly the program is. And yeah, we do live calls for that. And if you are seeing this video and you appreciate this information and you think it will help others, please share it with others. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe. I have video content that comes out every single week. But before I sign off, I wanted to share, like, I always love doing a mindset piece to my content and to my videos, because we are more than just our physical body. We are more than just, flesh and bone, as it were. We're also spiritual beings. And if you are somebody who looks at life from a spiritual perspective, as I do, it's hard not to pay attention to that aspect of things happening and responding to life a little bit differently, rather than being, what's the word? Reactive, right? Like, a lot of people, like, if you think that this reality is the only thing there is, then it can be very isolating. It can be very lonely at times. It can actually be very upsetting. But if you look at life from a spiritual perspective and recognize that there is unity in all creation and everything is always for our highest good, when things go sideways, there's a strange kind of comfort with, like, you know what, no matter what comes along, I can deal with this. No matter what happens in my life, I know that this was sent for my highest good. And I have had some very challenging times in my life, and I've always looked at it from that perspective of, like, this is trying to ultimately benefit me and help me in some way, even if I don't see it right this second. So I did a live about this on my Facebook yesterday, but I wanted to share it here as well, right? There's, at any given time, because there's 8 billion souls on this planet, or 8 billion humans on this planet. I shouldn't say 8 billion souls, because there's so many souls on this planet, but there's 8 billion humans on this planet. And everybody, we're all at a different place in our spiritual evolution and spiritual awareness. One of the things that I think is a powerful, powerful way to amplify your creation power is to really become mindful of your words, and also to become mindful of how you speak about things, like how you share about things and what you share about and where you put your focus, where you put your energy. And this isn't to say that you want to be coming from a place where, you live in like some bubble and are in total denial of some of the things that are going on in the world. But I also come across people who all they do is focus on what's happening in the world at large and all of the negative stuff. And consequently, they're struggling with their health, their mood, all kinds of issues, because they're literally focusing their energy in this one, on these types of things. And one of my teachers, spiritual teachers, said to me months and months ago that you want to, like, maybe give 10% of your focus on the problem, maybe 10%. You acknowledge, okay, there's a problem. 10% of your focus goes there. And then the rest of your focus, 90% of your focus, is on a possible solution, right? And here's the thing, when there is a problem, there is a solution that exists. Those two things exist simultaneously. Problem arises, but there's also a solution. the issue with a lot of people is they get very fixated on the problem. They talk about the problem. They shared about the problem. They put it on their social media feed. They talk to their friends and their family and everybody that will listen to about the problem. And they put zero focus on a possible solution. And so I would strongly encourage you to start anything that you're struggling with in your life, be open to a possible solution, but also speak less about the problem. Don't give it energy, just, and that's not to I'm not saying bury your head in the sand and be in denial about it, because that's like a kind of a spiritual bypass. That is not the world we want to live in. However, you do not want to keep feeding the problem, right? Years ago, when I first started my business back in 2018, and long before I had, a real significant social media platform, I wanted to market my business, and I had like these tanks and t-shirts that had cute little images and sayings on them, and on the back of the t-shirt or tank was my logo. And one of the sayings that I love to say, and I have said for years, is where focus goes, energy flows. I think I got it from Tony Robbins. I've heard him say it. So where focus goes, energy flows. And a lot of people put their focus and the energy starts flowing to the exact place they don't want. And if you can start to practice this in your life, and it is challenging because as human beings, we have this whole way of communicating with each other where we literally like to complain, right? We like to complain about the weather, the markets, this person or that person. And especially like people love complaining about politicians. That's like a national pastime. And it doesn't really get you where you want to go, right? And so I would say start reducing the amount of time. Make it a fun little game for yourself. See if you can get through a day without complaining about anything. And consequently, the easiest thing to do may be to just not say anything, because our temptation to speak poorly is so tempting. It might be best to just zip it. Right? So, two assignments if you choose to accept. First one, don't complain. Try not to complain for an entire day. And then number two, whatever the problems are in your life, whether they're health challenges, money challenges, relationship challenges, work challenges, give less energy to the issues, to the problem. And then start asking the question, what are the possible solutions here? How do I need to shift my perspective? What else is possible? How is this helping me? How is this for my highest good? And then stay open and aligned with the possibility of solutions. When an idea comes, really explore the possibility of that being a possible solution to whatever it is that you're struggling with. So those are the two things I would suggest. And I would love to know in the comments, I would love to know if you give this a try and how it worked out for you. I can tell you this is something that I practice on a daily basis. Some days I'm better at it than others. And that's why it's called a practice. That's why it's called, the game of life. And so anyway, I would love to hear from you if you gave this a try. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Please share this video with anyone you think could really benefit. Check the links below this video. I've got lots of cool resources. I've got a blog, website, got my membership, Elevate. You can check out the transformation if you want to work on gut health and glyphosate or glyphosate removal. And aside from that, thank you so much for being a part of my online community. I really do appreciate each and every single one of you. And I will see you in the next live, which will be in a couple weeks. All right. Bye for now.